Welcome to yet another ham radio video. This is Jay, KQ4DUX. It's a cool January morning out here in the yard, and this is one of my favorite things. We're going to do some experimenting today. So lately I've been looking into delta loop antennas. I'm hoping to build a 80 meter for the home here, but part of that is learning how everything works together and all of that. So I had been thinking about, well, why don't we start with a small one, a lot less wire, and kind of figure out how everything goes and start with a 10 meter and then go from there. So I had looked into Amazon and Gigaparts and Ham Radio Outlet and all these places for, what I would need to build that. And in the midst of all the research and looking at what I need to do and this and that, I had one of those aha moments. Was watching another video about a guy who had just set up a temporary one, and he took his balun from another use that was an off-center dipole, and it turned out that that was also a 4-to-1 balun, which should make it work. And I got to thinking, well, hey, I've got one of those stashed away. Maybe we can convert it. So is it possible to convert an off-center dipole? You could even reuse the wire. I'm not going to do that in this case, but that's a possibility. You may already have everything you need to make a loop depending on the wire lengths. So let's just take a loop at what we've got here. So here's the center, the balun for, this is MFJ. I believe the model is 2010, or was it 2010? I think so. Anyway, very simple. As you can see, all we would really need to do is disconnect the wires here and connect a loop. I have the wire strung out, and I have used this antenna. This was my original base antenna that I had for over a year, and it worked really well. And one thing I found was the higher the better, to some degree. I mean, you can only get so high with your trees or whatever you're using your tower, but I had it up about 28 feet and it worked pretty good. And then we went out to a park. I do have a video on that if you want to check it out. That was the Support Your Parks weekend. You can find that on the channel. And I got it up more like probably 35, possibly 40, but it was up higher and it worked really well. So nothing wrong with this antenna. I'm not permanently chopping it up or anything, but why not use what we have and see what else we can do with it. So I'll get everything set up and we'll take a look at what I've got for a loop, and see you in a bit. Okay, so I have the original wires disconnected from the off-center dipole to reuse the balun. I did mark them for the long side and the short side just to be sure that I get it hooked up correctly when I put it back together. But other than that, all I'm gonna do is connect the loop to one end to one side and one to the other side. And I did require me to remove the solder from these. These are what the original wires were held to, and as you already saw, I just made a loop with these. So we'll get this connected and get it up in the air and see how it goes. Hey, just a status update. Putting the antenna together, not a big deal, went very quickly. My first attempt was I wanted to try to deploy it horizontally and put the feed point in the corner, and then you kind of looks like a slingshot. Your gain should be the opposite end of where you feed it. So I had this tree here, a makeshift thing over here with a bamboo and pulley and whatnot, and then I had another tree over here. I don't know if you can see that, but I got another rope and a pulley up there. Really the most difficult thing about going horizontally is trying to find 3 points of attachment, you know, go anywhere and try to find 3 trees that are in a perfect triangle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it is challenging. So I got it up there. I tried to tune it. It was coming in at like 30 megahertz, so it was feeling like it's too short, and I think a lot of that was because I'm using, let's see where it is, I'm using this just solid wire, so you have to pull really hard to get this to straighten out. So I think that may be part of it, that I wasn't able to get points good enough to get it to stretch tight and get that triangle in the great shape. So I scrapped that for now, and I'm gonna go for vertical, hang it vertically, so which means I'm gonna have to move the feed point to roughly a 1/4 wave. So I got that measurement. I went inside, took a look at a calculator online, and I'm gonna reconfigure that. That way I really only need 2 attachment points, and we'll see how that goes. Well, we got it hooked up and we got it on the air. Very frustrating trying to work with this solid copper wire. It's just extremely difficult to get it to straighten out. So I would not recommend this unless you know, you had 3 posts, you positioned exactly where you want it, and you really could put some tension on, everything was just perfect. It might work okay, but ended up tuning up at like 1.9 at the very top of like the FM portion, which I was cutting for CW portion, so obviously did not get everything right with that. So I think we're gonna get some regular, like maybe 18 gauge wire, and try it with that. But I did get on the air and listening to a few stations, and receives pretty good. I haven't made any contacts yet, but well, let's say to be continued. I'll be back shortly. Hopefully I'll get a hold of some better wire, and I think that'll help quite a bit. So we're back again, try number 2 at the loop antenna. I did get something to work, and I'll turn it around. So what I've got is a rectangular loop. Obviously it's hung vertically. It's 2 to 1, so the horizontal sections are twice as long as the vertical sections. And I'll just zip up the latch here. Here's the balun. So this is the 4 to 1 that I took off the off-center dipole, and just got it hanging up there. I tried it out last night. As expected, it worked very well. It was I was probably 2 S units quieter. It's not a terrible noise environment, but there are power lines on the street here, and certain bands at certain times there is a noise floor that was preventing me from hearing certain stations. So it did work well. I heard some Japan stations. I had a pretty long QSO with the guy in Colorado, and he sounded great. He said I sounded great. So as far as building my first loop antenna, it was more challenging. I wouldn't say this is, you know, a beginner friendly that anybody can just, you know, whip it out in 30 minutes. Everything has to be right. I didn't get SWR as low as I liked it. It was about 2 to 1. You know, I was hoping to get closer to 1.5. But in the end, it did work, and I will definitely be doing more loops in the future. Like I said, I would like to get a 80 meter loop up on the property here. You know, I've got some of these big trees and a couple in the front, that way, a couple there. So it's just a matter of trying to do the math and measure it all out and figure out either 3 points or 4 points that would work out. So that's one of my goals for 2025, is to get that up in there and see how that works. Again, I got the Palomar Engineer long wire 9-to-1 on or balun with a 155 feet. And that works well. It's a low SWR across all the bands, but could be better in the noise area. So that's what we're looking for in the future. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something today. This is JKQ4DUX. You watched yet another ham radio video. Hope to catch you on there soon. 7-3.